Our next speaker is Takahiro Haruyama. I told you I'd mess it up.
Yeah. Thanks for introduction. In this presentation, I talk about how to break compiler level obfuscations used by APT10 malware. I'm Takahiro Haruyama. I'm a senior threat researcher with Carbon Black's threat analysis unit. This is today's overview. First, I talk my motivation and approach with a demonstration. One question: what's the purpose of this function? This function just returns the argument value. So what are other statements for? They are obfuscations used to make reverse engineering harder by changing a code flow so that it is not linear. The code was seen in APT10 ANEL samples. That is a RAT program observed in Japan uniquely. According to SecureWorks, recent ANEL samples are obfuscated with those obfuscations. In the previous function example was very easy, so we can read it manually, but there are more complicated functions like this, like this, like this. So manual analysis for those functions is painful and time-consuming. We need an automated de-obfuscation method. My motivation is to automate ANEL code de-obfuscations. In initial research, the obfuscations looked similar to the ones described in HexRaysDeob blog, but the introduced plugin HexRaysDeob didn't work because it was made for another variant of the obfuscations. So I investigated the causes, then modified HexRaysDeob to work for ANEL samples. Now I demonstrate the tool. First, I showed the obfuscated code. Can you see the code? The obfuscated code does not clearly flow from beginning to end. Instead, there is a nested loop structure having multiple flattened code blocks. Sorry. So the manual analysis is not realistic. By using the tool, after the de-obfuscation, the code becomes straightforward. The code flows from beginning to end, and the nested loop is eliminated. before explaining the modifications, I'd like to cover basics of IDA microcode. Microcode is an intermediate representation used by IDA decompiler. It's optimized in 9 maturity levels, from low to high-level IRs. By using microcode explorer, it's supplied with HexRaysDeob. We can make microcode instructions in the selected maturity level. For example, in low maturity level, it makes over 100 instructions, and the code looks like an assembly language. On the other hand, in high maturity level, it makes just 8 instructions, and the code is similar to language. The code goes to the compilation result. There are 4 key structures in microcode: basic block array, basic block, instruction, and the instruction structure contains operand structures: left, right, destination, or left and destination. HexRaysDeob installs to optimize the callback structures: opt-block-t for controlflow flattening, opt-insanity for opaque predicates. By using the structures, microcode explorer displays call flow graph and instruction graph. In call flow graph, this number is a block number. It's unique in 1 maturity level. And instructions can be nested. For instance, this instruction can be displayed like this. In the instruction graph, OR is the top level instruction, and shift left and other OR are sub instructions. The difference is important because it's used in data flow tracking of opaque predicates patterns. I will explain later. Now I explain the modifications. First, opaque predicates. In the original implementation, opt-insanity callback function replaces an opaque predicate pattern with another expression. ANEL samples require 2 more patterns and data flow tracking function. The first pattern is like this. In the example below, the global variable is either even or odd. So the value multiplying the global variable by the variable -1 will be always even. Then the lowest bit of the negate value becomes 1. So finally, the value ordered by -2 will always produce -1. The modified code replaces the pattern multiplying x by x minus 1 with value 2. The second pattern is read-only global variable more than or less than immediate value. The global variable is always 0 because it will be initialized with 0, and it has only read accesses. So the pattern matching function replaces the variable with 0. And there are other variants like this, and immediate value can be different. for example 9. Sometimes the code tracks catches the specific event, HXE pre-alloc, that is the final event for optimizations. Then calls the opt_block_t callback function several times. Usually, a block comparison variable is unique in one function, but a few functions with multiple control flow dispatchers have duplicated variables. So the modified code detects the duplications, then applies the most likely variable in the selected dispatcher by validating the block numbers. The third modification is about implementation for various jump cases. The original implementation supports 2 jump cases. One is go-to case for normal block. The other is conditional jump for flattened if statement block. If the next block is resolved, the call flow graph and the destination of jump instruction are updated. For instance, in jump case 2, block comparison variable is searched in each block, each predecessor block, and with JCC and non-JCC, then change the destination, while appending the code of the dispatcher predecessor to non-JCC's tail. The modified code supports 3 more jump cases. Case 3, go to any predecessor's case. Case 4, 2 and 3 combination. Handling case 3 is similar to case 2, but the dispatcher predecessor will be eliminated. In jump case 4, appending code occurs twice. First, to each predecessor. Second, to non-JCC. Usually, we can find block comparison variables in flattened blocks, but in jump case 5, block comparison variables are assigned in the first blocks. It is a little bit tricky. For example, in this function, IDA is assigned to ESI in block number 7. ESI is the block comparison variable in this function. And the EDI value is assigned in block number 1 and 2. So in order to handle this case, the modified code reconnects first blocks as successors of the flattened blocks. In this case, block number 1 will be the successor of block number 7. I refer to the issues that I got when testing on IDA 7.2 and improvements on 7.3. I evaluated the implementation on IDA 7.2 by using 2 ANEL samples. One is version 5.4.1 payload. The other is version 5.5 loader DLL. The modified tool could de-obfuscate 92% of the obfuscated functions that we encountered in the first sample. The causes of the remaining failures were: first, the next block number guessing algorithm failed. This issue has been resolved in this case, but it may be problematic in the future because the guessing is not perfect. About the other 2 issues, they have been resolved in IDA 7.3. I explain the improvements. About the first improvement, AIDA 7.2 does not propagate opaque predicate de-obfuscation results if the values are alias to stack slots. That means indirectly referred as stack values. So the V2 value will be this value, and it's signed. So this code block is actually never executed, but still remains on 7.2. On the other hand, AIDA 7.3 can propagate the values correctly, so the decompilation result becomes simpler. The second improvement is handling conditional jumps. All jump cases can be conditional, and 1 and 5 cases are easy to handle, but 2 to 4 cases require a basic block duplication. It was not allowed on AIDA 7.2, but 7.3 provides the option, specifically this flag value. So the modified code clears the flag, then uses insert block API to make an empty basic block, then copy instructions flow and other information. It also adjusts destinations of some basic blocks because the API updates some block numbers related to the exit block. In conditional jump case 2, the dispatcher predecessor and non-JCC have different block types, so we can't append the code to non-JCC's tail. Instead, copy the basic block. About the false case block, the false case block number should be the conditional block number +1. So this block should be copied as well. Conditional jump case 3 can be handled in the same way, but predecessors can be conditional too. In that case, the dispatcher predecessor should be copied even if the tail instruction is not a conditional jump. The conditional jump case 4 is the most complicated, but actually I've not seen the case in the 2 tested samples, but I implemented. I think it's a rare case, but controlflow unflattening may fail. In that case, please execute the plugin with the value 0xDAD. It de-obfuscates only opaque predicates in the selected function, so we can recover the lost code blocks due to the failure. I wrap up my presentation. The compiler level obfuscations are starting to be observed in the world. The manual analysis is painful and time-consuming, so the automated de-obfuscation is needed. The modified code is available publicly. It can de-obfuscate almost every function on AIDA 7.3, except the next block number guessing algorithm failure case. I hope this research will be valuable for other malware researchers. For this research, I'd like to appreciate HexRays patient support. And I also appreciate the original tool author, Lord Flores. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Tau team members, especially Jared and Brian. This is the references. That's it. Thanks. Second?
We can do 1 or 2 questions if.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation. I think if I recall properly, I tried your script or the previous script from Rolf against an obfuscator. It's called obfuscator LBM. I don't know if you are familiar with this obfuscator, but when I saw the presentation, it was looking very similar. And my question is, how much time it will take me to, for example, do the same thing? So take your script, do some modifications in order to get like a readable code, and yeah, that's basically my question. I don't know if I explain myself properly. So my question is.
Could you explain another way?
Yeah. My question is like, how much time it will take me to take your code? I'm not very familiar with the microcode in X-rays, but I would like to do something similar. Instead of doing the obfuscation for ANEL, use this malware, I would like to de-obfuscate obfuscator LBM. That is very similar thing with controlflow flattening, opaque predicates, and yeah, if it would be possible, we can have the question later if you want.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for coming.